to it.
I think Ezreal could easily be banned here, right? You could definitely take that one off the board. Something like Tahm Kench for key and then a power pick in a solo lane or the jungle could certainly be an option.
The interesting thing here, I guess, is that if you don't ban the Ezreal here and Gen.G goes with the Lissandra, which they are hovering, you get the Ezreal, and Ezreal fundamentally counters the type of team compositions that you'll often find Lissandra be a part of. And so that could be an interesting trade-off. Hanwha Life is also on the red side, so Ezreal Tahm Kench is almost an immovable object down in the bottom lane, but Gen.G does lock in the Lissandra first. Now, I think that Hanwha does have to respond here with Ezreal.
I think as soon as you lock in Tahm Kench, though, you have a lot of flexibility as Hanwha Life, because they are a very good Ashe team as well. They play around Ashe very well in the hands of Sungyun, and we know it was Gen.G that actually popularized it. The Ashe Tahm Kench is another fantastic lane, and I think has a little bit more lane strength in the early stages of the game as well, which is where they want to be playing around Bono, but by the looks of things, that's not where Hanwha's mind is going to go, as the Thresh is being hovered. 4 seconds.
And I think that is going to end up being locked in, and Hanwha showing an aggressive physical damage jungler that has to have a primary engage and then tippers off in the mid game isn't what you might want to show this early in the draft, because now if Gen.G respond Ezreal Tahm Kench, they have more gears available fundamentally within their team composition, and it is directly working against Hanwha Life. It's a really big fumble by Hanwha this early on into the draft, because right now the direction that they're going is face up. This is as mono red as it gets. This is
and I'm starting to learn what that means as well. So
see, caster synergy.
They're just smorking at this stage. We'll see whether they're going to continue down that line, because they knew that Gen.G were going to pick these two, right? Like, it was a guarantee. I think that not picking the Tahm Kench was definitely a blunder.
I am on fire today, Atlas.
There we go. All right,
coming back right
Some
now.
orbs into the mid lane, and I like this. You mentioned, early game focused jungler, a jungler that can create pressure, can get a lot of vision around the map, and then you put a Syndra in the mid lane, which is just going to straight up win against the Lissandra. We saw it yesterday. We saw Showmaker, even in a game where things didn't go so well, just absolutely demolish the Lissandra matchup. Was not a worry there at all. And now, next round of bans, the jungle is going to be the focus here for Hanwha Life, as Nocturne taken off the board.
So when Hanwha Life bans away the Nocturne, I feel like they're not looking at the fact that Gen.G doesn't have the obligation to come into them. The onus right now is on Hanwha Life to delete one of the members of Gen.G. Ezreal will outrange the Syndra. Ezreal will prove to be a very big problem for the Rek'Sai engages later that will require Hanwha Life to have more of a reliance on their summoner spells, especially because Ezreal gets to cheat a summoner spell by having the Thomas Kench available. So the Yorick being banned away by Gen.G. They could also follow up with a Jace ban here, as Jace might be one of the few remaining answers to the fundamental team comp that Gen.G is drafting. And so I wouldn't be so surprised to just see the Yorick ban accompanied by a Jace, but instead, it's going to be a Scion. So Hanwha Life has a chance to pick up the Jace for Thal here, and I think that's probably the best choice that they have available.
As far as the top lane pull is concerned, I think you're exactly right. I mean, there's no Vladimir to go to towards that power pick.
Cassio.
There's no Yorick or Scion now, and Cassio being hovered, but I do like the Kalista lock-in. If they do decide to go with it, leaves that top lane still flexible, and shows that Tal wants to just try and get a positive matchup into Roach and capitalize there. But I feel if Gen.G pick up the Jace themselves, their composition will really work well around it. So Jace certainly two different schools of thought there.
Jace is super perfect right now, and if you are Hanwha Life, now you don't get to actually pick the Cassiopeia because the enemy team just simply outranges you. It's a direct team comp type of counter where then Hanwha, they need to get ahead. The Syndra has to have a gold advantage over the opponent. The top laner has to have a gold advantage over the opponent. This is a nightmare scenario, and we're not even at the last pick yet. And when you're Hanwha Life, how do you draft your way out of this type of a problem that you found yourself in? It's certainly not Urgot on 9.4, I'll tell you that much.
Well, Tuhal is going to go towards the Trundle that is being named after. Keep hovering that one for us. 10 seconds to go. We'll see what the real decision is here for the top lane of Hanwha Life, because you know that they have an idea, and see whether the Jarvan is going to be the answer. That lane can certainly snowball against the Jace, but it will demand Bono's attention And I think it's likely to be priority closer to the bottom side of the map rather than the top. And playing around a lane that is going to get shoved in and abused is not necessarily what you want to be doing as Hanwha Life, especially with Peanut's penchant for counter ganks around this map, especially on the Sejuani. You don't want to be doing anything aggressive on this pickup, but if you can get there in time and be a body in a lane in that 2v2, certainly are some kills that could get picked up based on where Roach is going to have the lane. So dangerous times for Hanwha Life Esports. I think this is a huge win for Gen.G in the draft based on power picks, based on everything here for these guys.
I'm going to take one last look at the team compositions and talk about what each are trying to achieve, but I agree with you entirely. Gen.G can feel very comfortable walking out of this pick ban with massive edges. We have Ruler down there on the Ezreal with Tahm Kench, Lissandra, Sejuani, and Jace. So they have the poke. They're able to also be engaged in a pick comp. They have the access to deny split push material as well as back it up with the Tahm. Just lots of gears available that wants to play poke into front to back lane type of play or team composition. Whereas on the flip side, this is as mono red as it comes.
Yeah.
As we have Jarvan, Rek'Sai, Syndra, Kalista, and Thresh. We talked about this in yesterday's broadcast. This type of a team comp needs to get ahead. It cannot contend on even footing.
Well, we'll see whether it can, because there are certainly ways, like, if we saw this composition in the hands of Sandbox, for example, you're looking at it going, oh, this is exactly how they want to play. Because Sandbox are a team that like to get advantages early. We'll see whether Hanwha can do their best Sandbox impression as they move on to onto the Rift versus Gen.G for Game 1 of the night. Okay, a lot of skin synergy coming out here from Hanwha, as you saw, as we jump right into it. Already the Master Chef just eyeing out where Hanwha are going to be positioned. And guys, we want to keep your attention on how this early game is going to go, because if we move into 20 minutes with anything but a 4,000 gold lead for Hanwha Life, we're feeling like Gen.G is just going to straight up win the game.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling that Gen.G has given you since their inception, since before they were even called Gen.G.
And some people might be watching and wondering, well, why is that the case? Well, Ezreal's able to go Iceborne Gauntlet, which makes it extremely problematic for the Kalista, Rek'Sai, and Jarvan to actually deal damage to him. Then because of the Arcane Shift and the Devour on Tahm Kench, it sort of denies the Rek'Sai and Jarvan ability to engage. Also, because Gen.G is on the blue side, it's fundamentally more difficult to dive the Jace up in top lane, as well as actually secure the Baron, because Gen.G, as long as they hold a Phalanx inside of their blue side jungle, Ezreal poke and Jace poke from those close quarters just makes it so difficult for Hanwha to start a Baron. So Gen.G, they just have so much more to work with, and it's really difficult drafting a team comp like this because you have to assume that the opponent will make mistakes, because the lane advantages that are present on the map aren't sizable enough. This isn't something as disgusting as like a Draven against a Kalista, which is very difficult for her. Obviously, Syndra Lissandra is where they have the biggest victory currently present. And so, Lava, he has to do something big here in this game, but the mana management already this early on not looking that hot. We can see, even though we're not panning at the mini-map or at the mid lane, 2 Corrupting Potions still available for Fly. He's full HP, full mana, has Teleport versus Cleanse. Lava's out of mana.
Already, exactly. And the thing that's really interesting is last time we saw the Syndra come out from Hanwha Life Esports, it was a decisive victory. It was actually a fantastic game, but it was piloted by Tempt. It was not Lava in the mid lane. Lava had his breakout performance this season on the LeBlanc. It was a champion that was banned away from him, and it was his champ pool that was really punished in this blue side draft coming out from Gen.G. So Hanwha Life going to have to make some changes here as he picks the gap between Ruler and Life. But of course, very difficult to make that CC stick, as Life is just standing there, level 2, Devour available, no worries at all. And Ruler's just happy to scale up, to get as many of these Kleptomancy procs as possible, and make himself that dynamite 2-item Ezreal in the mid game. He's almost thinking past this point entirely, this stage of the game, as Tal wants to do the same. He just missed a cannon creep. He's having a really horrible time against the constant shove that Roach's Jace is going to be providing. And Jace we see as being a red side ban oftentimes for a lot of our other teams. This champion is so incredibly strong. Top side of the map, I actually can't believe that I missed it. It's normally just a guaranteed ban. But when we're talking about the top side picks that they were going to have, I thought that it was going to be something definitely taken off the board. The Aatrox, remember, was banned by Hanwha Life Esports. So certainly one of those mistakes that we often associate the old Aatrox with. Also on the ban side here for Hanwha Life.
It's a really nice control ward that Syndra just ended up placing. And speaking of the Jace, it can definitely prove to be a thorn in their side in the later stages of the game for sure. Thus far, though, Thal is doing a relatively good job at keeping up in the CS department. Bono coming over to maybe look to make something happen.
Yeah, Flag and Drag is going to come in here. Roach is going to get into the top brush. A lot of damage is going to go down here as Bono not even going to use the flash as Tal gets back to his jungle, and a teleport has to be invested. Fly's advantage in the mid lane, all for naught here at this stage of the game. Yeah,
so he ends up teleporting top lane, and immediately after this transpires, Jace is just going to try to crash the wave into Jarvan's turret, but Lava got a lot of XP during all of this.
But if Peanut's going to be able to get over here and actually stun up Lava, he has to use the cleanse, will most likely have to use the flash as the permafrost comes down. So Lava just overstaying his welcome there in the mid lane.
And he's losing a lot of HP. Now, fortunately for him, he does already have the experience advantage. He has a CS advantage as well. So having to recall at this time is not the end of the world. He's actually even going to get a free recall. I'm very surprised Fly, with as healthy as he was, didn't try to deny it.
Yeah, also just really strange that Lava stuck around there. He expended basically 2 summoner spells just to get half of a health bar from Peanut. That was the trade right there. And I'd say definitely not worth it, as he knew that Fly was making his way down. They even had vision. So that's not like bad game sense or anything like that. It's just bad looking at the mini-map.
So far, Lava coming back to lane. He has the double Darksteel with a Fairy Charm, so he's definitely trying to fight back against the Lissandra. And in a spot like this, it's not that bad. He ended up beating Fly levels 1 through 3, was able to get a recall off that shouldn't have been allowed, and then Fly having to use his teleport top lane. So Lava's getting these very slight micro advantages in the lane that he otherwise likely shouldn't have been able to get based on how he played the level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's finding himself in a good position. He's going to get the... Bono now actually pathing down to... Did he get the blue hand off on the minimap?
Not entirely sure.
I'm looking at his mana, and I'm not seeing it regenerate very quickly.
Alright, so not going to grab that one. Rek'Sai going to path up towards her red buff. And Bono still wanting to try and get something done here. In this early game, at the moment, Peanut's just happily farming up alongside him. And as this game goes, the less Hanwha Life do, the worse it looks. And having the onus on you for proactivity is always something that's difficult to deal with, and something that we've seen teams play around a lot. When you know that you're the team that's able to sit back and turtle, it's much easier to play the game out in the way that you want. It's much harder to coordinate your team together and guarantee proactive plays. Hanwha have been good at it in the past, and of course, if you're looking at the best team in the league at it so far, I mean, you have to look at Griffin, but Sandbox are also known for being able to guarantee a foot on the pedal no matter what. But can Hanwha actually emulate something like that is my question. Because right now, it's just not looking to be the case. Still waiting for, you know, first items, things like that to come in, and that's when they will have a guaranteed advantage. But that's also giving Ruler time to get to those 2-item spikes that he's looking for. It's when Peanut gets a Cinderhulk, he's going to be a real rock when he comes in to get these counter ganks down, and it's just getting in towards dangerous times for Hanwha Life if Hanwha can't get themselves some leads in the laning phase. And a lot of these Qs landing onto Key, he can't actually go toe-to-toe with this bottom lane.
And everything is just being played very safe right now. Syndra finally moving over to actually get the blue. just thought that she was over there to get it a little bit earlier as I was looking elsewhere on the screen. So she does finally get it here at 8.5 minutes. Going to be able to move back into mid lane, but Lissandra's blue is up, so the advantage is only going to be temporary. However, after the Wolves, Rek'Sai could potentially path over to the Mountain Drake, and then they could try to utilize this as a timing window where Fly should be looking for his blue buff handoff, and then you have 4 members in close proximity to the Drake. You could just pick it up relatively quickly. However,
that ward is
like
absolute money coming in here as Lava does get the free stun. Thankfully, Aftershock there for Fly, so he's going to take basically minimal damage from those spheres. These wards need to be cleared out. That blue ward sitting there was just so much value as Bono takes a huge chunk of his health bar. The W's going to land, and the Devour is going to stop any death sentence from doing anything. Bono has to use the smite to keep himself healthy as now Lava gets his cleanse back up again, but Peanut comes in, lands the ultimate this time, but no, not going to follow up and get underneath that turret. It would have been 1 more, maybe 2 more auto attacks, and that's a guaranteed kill as there's a flayback. Life has to use both summoners bottom side. Hanwha are getting frisky like we wanted.
Yeah, a lot of action going on around the map. Lava just definitely had a very close encounter. Peanut looked like he thought he was going to... It looked like he was second-guessing himself, actually, with how long he held on to the ultimate. And so Lava barely able to get away right there. However, now pathing to the blue buff. We're going to have a blue handoff on Lissandra, and Hanwha Life are going to capitalize on this opportunity.
Yeah, full vision available, but position on the map is the issue here. Peanut nowhere near this dragon, so should be going over to Hanwha pretty easily. Is something that we assumed their team composition would be able to gift them in the early game, so good to see them gathering up that objective. And a Mountain Drake certainly would be terrifying in the hands of Gen.G, because we know what Jace does to turrets. So that is Mountain Drake going over to Hanwha. Bono exerting his advantage in the jungle right now, does have his Warrior Enchant completed, so we want to see him get around the map and get some stuff done.
Infernal Drake will be the next one,
value,
which is going to be extremely high value, and it's going to come in at a time where Gen.G are still not super comfortable with their itemization just yet. So Ballista, Syndra, and friends will definitely all have their first core items, while Ezreal, he will have his Monomune, he will have a tier going for him in the Sheen, but doesn't necessarily mean that Gen.G will be looking to start a fight. However, 12 minutes, yes, Hanwha Life does have Mountain Drake.
Roach, he faked out as he's not going to land the Empowered Shock Blast, but that's the Q on cooldown here for Tal. Will have it back up relatively quickly, does use it right there as Bono is here in time. Tunnels his way forward and is just going to body block so that Tal is going to survive. Doesn't even take half of his health bar.
Very close encounter for him up there in top lane. Still 3.5 minutes now remaining on the plates. Jarvan does have teleport available, so he's just trying to hold and stabilize that lane. You don't want to allow the Jace to get any more turret plates.
I think this is the most Rift Scuttlers I've seen a Sejuani get so far in the LCK. She often gets really rolled over in a lot of these early games, but Bono has really let Peanut do basically what he wants as Fly gets his way out. Bono once again going to be denied that gank attempt, and Roach with his priority topside is going to move on down, and Peanut is going to start off this Rift Herald. They do have control ward vision. Bono's going to be able to take down his red buff, but as you can see, looks like Hanwha not going to be moving over here at all because mid lane gets shoved in. Tal makes his way back towards the top side. Actually, no, I believe he didn't actually go for the back, so he's just going to clear out the minion wave and now go back home. Item advantage there, top side of the map, and that means it's a guaranteed pickup for Gen.G. Against the flow of play, or against where the flow of play should have been, Gen.G pick themselves up this objective. This is looking like a great game for them. High control, and we have to go back to the draft and look at what decisions Hanwha made and what wasn't denied from Gen.G.
And I love this right here. I mean, they summon the Rift Herald right away, and they really accelerate Roach on that Jace. Almost a 2,000 gold advantage for him over the J4, and that is not what Hanwha Life want to have happening. And as we approach the 15-minute mark, yes, Hanwha should in theory have been in a position that would be good for them as this dragon is about to spawn, but with Jace being as far ahead as he is, he has the Black Cleaver already completed. J4 has the Tiamat and a Kindle Gem, so he's not going to actually have a core item completed by the time this dragon ends up spawning. And so we talked about in pick ban and just as the game started that Hanwha Life, they want to have advantages across the map. They don't have any.
No.
And so this team composition sort of begins to crumble beneath its feet, and a lot of people might think, well, it's the laner's fault entirely that they're not getting their own advantages. Well, no, not really. In competitive, bottom lane's 3v3, mid's 2v2, and top's 2v2 with the jungler. If you don't set up your lane relative to where your jungler's pathing, you punish yourself. Your jungler just can't actually gank it. And if the lane manipulation just isn't there for you, I don't know what Bono is supposed to do.
Yeah, it's a problem. And also, they haven't been able to track Peanut as well. Peanut has been either where he needs to be or invisible on this map in the early stages. And it's what we've commended Peanut for in the past, but not something we've seen from him recently at all, as Lava's throwing out as many spheres as he can just to try and keep pressure here in this lane. Want to have as many on the field as possible as long-range wave clear is coming in. You can see that Lava is playing with fear, and that's not what the Syndra wants to be doing. Lost Chapter is in, but he's gone Merc Treads. This is not a Syndra that's going to be 100-0ing people. This is a Syndra that's desperately trying to not get double ulted. This is a Syndra afraid of the cold, basically. No Glacial Prison, no Frozen Tomb for her. That's not what she wants to be dealing with.
The fact that there's so much physical damage present on Lava's team composition, and yet he's electing to go Mercury Treads. Let me tell you what, if a Lissandra and a Sejuani are on top of you, you're dying anyway.
Yeah.
And the little bit of tenacity
Speaking of dying, Lava's going to have to cleanse and flash, but there's another Freezy ultimate to come in. That Scat of the Week was amazing, though. Not enough. True Shot Barrage probably would have finished him off anyway, but that's a nice Shock Blast. And that's a free kill going over to Gen.G and first blood at 15 minutes to the team that wants to scale.
And now Gen.G are going to pick themselves up the Infernal Drake, which is going to amplify.
Hold on. Okay, they're going for Life. Does have his stopwatch. Time is being bought now for this Gen.G roster. Life is going to flash at the opportune moment. The Devour's perfect, as this is why you don't give Gen.G Tahm Kench.
And Gen.G managed to turn that around. And now they're looking to get their eyes on the Infernal. There is no smite available on the side of Hanwha Life. That's going to be an Infernal getting picked up for free. And Gen.G are just running away with this game. They have the better team comp, superior scaling, and they're the ones with advantages and an Infernal Drake to boot.
Yeah, and also the easier comp to play out as well. I mean, they've got non-committal damage. Their siege potential's fantastic with the likes of the Jace. Like, as far as multifaceted win conditions are concerned, Gen.G's composition is the quintessential one. It's why we see it so many times. It's why Lissandra is employed in so many different compositions and why Ezreal is ever present alongside things like the Jace and the Tahm Kench, because they're so versatile with how you can win the game.
And we'll just take another quick look at this as Lava uses the cleanse. He has a beautiful Scatter the Weak, but it just doesn't matter. Roach's damage
that's beautiful.
On another planet. As Thal and Bono look to retreat, and then right here, Thal. This almost actually looked like Gen.G were being a little bit greedy trying to get the control ward, but Life not to be CC'd anymore, and then the Devour on Tahm Kench able to eat Ezreal right out of the Cataclysm. And some of these mini skirmishes are really showcasing some of the vulnerabilities that the Hanwha Life team composition has. Is that their engages can all be answered by some of the abilities on the side of Gen.G, whether Lissandra is ulting herself, the Devour on Tahm Kench, Arcane Shift on Ezreal. The Syndra is really integral in trying to fulfill her role to one-shot someone on the side of Gen.G. But when you have no penetration, because you want to go Mercury Treads first boots, I guess you're going to have a really bad time.
Absolutely. That being said, I do want to refer back to Gen.G because who have we been very critical of so far this season? It's largely been Peanut. We've been looking at Peanut. We've been saying, you know, what is he doing? His champion pool looks weird. Picks like the Sejuani that he's picked up in the past haven't worked. in this composition, yes, it's one that they shouldn't have gotten, but he's playing this out so beautifully, navigating their way around the early game exactly how they needed to. And yes, a lot of it has to be on Peanut for how well this early game went for Gen.G, because he was in the right spots and also invisible at the right times, as we mentioned before. So really good to see from the man who was going to change the fate of Gen.G when he moved in. I remember talking about this squad. I was excited about Gen.G at the start of the year. Straight up didn't work for the first few weeks. Still hasn't really seen too many signs of life, but this game is a very different story. As you can see, the siege potential of this composition certainly there. Roach comes in, hypercharges, and takes down the turret with ease. It's the demolish proc from Fly that helps out. And you can see everywhere on this map. Oh god, it's going to be the flash out, but Ruler queues up the auto attack. Life's there, and that's the solo kill. There might be an assist from the Tom Kench, but don't let that fool you. That was 1v1, and that was Ruler on 2 items, saying, Sangyun, get out of my lane.
And it's looking like Gen.G is about to tell Hanwha Life to just get out of the game instead, as they have almost a 6,000 gold lead here at 19 minutes. We were saying earlier how Hanwha Life, they don't have a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead at around 20. It's going to just be advantageous for Gen.G.
And so Gen.G are theoretically 8,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
At 20 minutes in the game.
Pretty nice.
Basically what we're talking about, and they have a structure lead, and now their composition works.
Yeah.
This is where Gen.G are like, okay, let's play some League of Legends. Let's do it. Let's get into it. And they're in about the best position to do it possible. They would have been happy to do it from behind, but this is even better than that, as the auto attack already queued, baby.
She just fell backwards. It's really unfortunate.
Oh, look at Cuvee. He's so upset. He's like, no, why are they doing well without me? I want to play the next game. Ugh, so frustrating.
I always like how it's oftentimes the players that aren't really that excited or enthusiastic.
That being said, Nahyun for Kingzone Dragon X is always happy. That guy never stops smiling, which is beautiful because it's the exact antithesis of what Pawn is, because he is never smiling. Really? As that hook barely grazed the backside of Ruler.
The tongue just barely missing. Look at the damage.
Yeah, this is just ridiculous. Ruler has to be respected so much as Fly. Might have been caught out, but he's going to go into stasis multiple times. Another good scat of the week comes in, but Lava is going to pay for it. Flash has to be used. And Hanwha Life on the ropes. Baron has spawned, but no one going to be going for it just yet. Cloud Drake in 10 seconds. So we've got the Earth, Wind, and Fire to start this one up for today. And Hanwha, they were looking to boogie. They were looking for a fight.
Yeah.
And it was just nothing doing at that stage, because Ruler finds their flanker and kills him by himself, almost.
And you look at Syndra, and there's still not a core item completed. She has the Oblivion Orb, almost has the Luden's Echo available. And things are not going that well right now for them. When an engage comp is on a full-on retreat, because of the amount of damage the enemy team can dish out.
And you can also see it. Like, you can see how relaxed Gen.G are with the itemization of Ruler. Often, when we're looking at a game that Gen.G is in, you look at Ruler to work out where the game is at. And right now, Ruler's decided he doesn't need Lifesteal, doesn't need a Bilgewater Cutlass. He needs to start stacking his next tier, because honestly, this game can go for as long as it likes, and Ruler is comfy. So, ready to get more of that mana stacking up. Already has the synergy with the Mura mana. Transformed. And this is just another day at the office as one of our best 80 carries. Been in a little bit of purgatory so far this season, but that does not mean he's stopped being Ruler. Excited to see him behind a team that's actually working well together. And I'm looking at Fly and I'm thinking, man, he looks great when he's on Lissandra. We mentioned that 71% win rate. He's going to go up to close to 80 here after this game. And you'd be Hanwha Life and you'd be like, why did we ban the only champion that Gen.G seems to win on in the mid lane?
Definitely, Lissandra is able to do a lot of good things.
Especially when you ban every counter pick in the first round. Like,
yeah, they signified what they were trying to do. And it's a really interesting proposition, because if you're going to first pick the Lissandra, you give away the chance for Ezreal to be picked. But when Hanwha Life chooses to go, I believe it was Rek'Sai, and be like, yeah, we're going to try to hook you.
Okay! This is why they picked the Thresh, the empowered Flay auto attack to steal the red buff.
Is there that
we
it?
Are. Turn it all around.
Is that what? Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's first.
All right.
Obviously.
All right, duh.
Yeah.
Duh.
Hey, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Result-based analysis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a
the best-
play-by-play.
that's the
That's
best
what I
kind,
do.
right,
That's
yeah.
what I do.
All right.
I've got it down to a fine art. Fine art. Okay, all jokes aside, the Thresh pick could have been a Tahm Kench this game. The Jace pick could have been on the other side of the Rift. The Kalista wasn't going to get picked up, was already not banned, and Hanwha Life had the last laugh on that pickup anyway. I just feel like there were so many times that this draft from Hanwha could have been salvaged.
Yeah.
It came all the way down to the last pick. Their first round of picks was an interesting one. Lava locking in the Syndra for himself without a care in the world makes sense, but then the next round of bans, banning Nocturne Aatrox?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Why
Because
ban the
that's-
Aatrox when you're not going to be picking the Jace? You ban the Jace there, you got Roach on an Aatrox this game. The Jarvan's having a great time in that lane that time around. Like, everything's actually working out.
Well, I do think that in game number 2, as I genuinely do not think that Hanwha Life can recover from this, especially another Infernal Drake coming up in 2 minutes, and they are nowhere near being able to fight. The only way that Hanwha Life can actually come back in this game is maybe Syndra deleting Ezreal before the start of a fight.
Well, I mean, if Hanwha Live come back, it's not going to be Hanwha making good decisions or being intelligent. It's that, you know, 3-8 scoreline coming back to bite Gen.G. Because they have made late-game decisions that have been wrong in the past. They've thrown games. Certainly, that's why they've been struggling so much. But this game almost feels unthrowable and also feels like an incredible momentum booster here for Gen.G. Because this isn't a game that was handed to them. This is not a game based on mistakes. This is a game based on just being better. As you can see, bottom side of the map, Roach, almost a solo kill, but Ruler comes in just to grab himself a cheeky assist.
And Jarvan, he has a full assassination build, which is really interesting why he has Airy over perhaps Electrocute if what he's going for is just trying to absolutely delete one person in his rotation. He has no resistances. The Jace and the Ezreal just come over, delete him off the map real quick, as it looks like Lava might be next on the menu. Peanut gonna move away.
Archangel stuff is completed now for Ruler as well, so he's stacking that up double time. Having a real good time. No weird transformation issues that these double tier items can provide for you because he already had that Mirror Mana on deck. So no worries there. 1-0 and 2. 1,000 gold bounty for the killing spree Roach on the top side of the map. That's why you saw Cuve's face, and he wasn't too psyched because he wants to play League of Legends today.
Let's take a nice quick look at that. Nice.
Just too easy. As Roach just waits in a brush, Vital to inevitably move towards the minion wave. And they take that one down. The Ocean Drake did eventually fall, and now we've got 10 seconds until the second Infernal is on the map, and that will be the last nail in the coffin if Gen.G pick that one up for Hanwha Live. As Ruler is going to say, no, it is not yours. Lands a couple of Qs. There's another one onto Key. If that had a hit, if that True Shot Barrage had a hit, that was a very dead Thresh. Now Sangin's looking to go into Cataclysm to come down Hanwha. One last team fight to rule them all. Can they make it work? Fly says no. As he dives into the back lane, it's basically an instant triple kill. Make that a quadrants. Fly comes down, stolen and denied as Roach. Oh, that is not what we wanted to see. We wanted our second pentakill of the LCK, and Ruler wanted it desperately, but Roach says no. That might mean that Cuve comes in for game 2, as the AD carry might be tilted from now.
All right, well, they're going to head right over onto the Baron via the Abyssal Voyage. Fly still pushing in the bottom lane. There's going to be no way that Hanwha Life is going to be able to get to this Baron. They do not have a teleport available, even if someone would respawn. And take another quick look at it. Ruler missing a couple of skill shots, not the end of the world. You can just see what the Tahm Kench ends up doing, though. And it looks like this is probably going to be the best opening possible, but you can just see the team composition and then also just the massive edges.
At Ruler. He hit every skill shot. He did not miss anything in that entire team fight, and he was constantly autoing and throwing out skills. Like,
he's saying penta. He almost I think he almost called him an F and B word really quick.
Yeah, I've been watching some Korean movies recently, and I know what that one means.
That's a fine.
Yeah, that's all right, and we put it on broadcast. There we go. All right. That being said, you can completely understand that reaction. It's exactly what I was talking about after that team fight. Oh my god. Well, Baron buff. Remember, Gen.G pretty good at Baron buff power plays. That was one of the stats we were looking at. I thought it might have been irrelevant because Gen.G don't do a lot of getting Barons. This time around, that 40% Baron rate is not going to be there, and Gen.G are going to decimate this base. They're sitting on a 13,000 gold lead. It's 28.5 minutes in. This is bordering on a shellacking, and it's not the shellacking I was expecting moving into this series.
No, definitely not. But with the way that everything ended up being drafted early on, we knew what Hanwha had to do coming into this game, and they weren't able to execute upon it. And these types of team compositions are genuinely really scary. Normally you don't choose these kind of loaded, smork, go-face team comps as a initial action. Usually it's something that's drafted and recalibrated to throughout the course of a draft. And to do it so upfront and so voluntarily.
And also so linearly, right? There is no flexibility to this composition from Hanwha. They had one way of winning the game. It's exactly this. Devour's going to come in. Ruler gets himself into position. Another Penta opportunity now as Fly is going to go golden. Tal taken down. Roach is going to deny it as the first kill goes over to the top laner, but now it's all about Ruler. Fly grabs one of them, but the damage from this Ezreal is disgusting. He wants to pick up another kill. It's the Jace that grabs it. And Gen.G will bring it home. 29 minutes, not even 30. 14-1. A gigantic gold lead. And Gen.G looks so good when they get the picks that they're good at.
And this was a really clean and decisive game number one. And you have to feel really good unless you're Roach, who just got called a B word here by one of his teammates. He's feeling a little bit down. He's like, oh, God, I'm going to get benched. Yep. I took the Penta.
Oh, man. But he played extraordinarily well, and they couldn't have won that game without him. So I liked it. He was able to mitigate all of that pressure that could have been exerted towards the bottom side of the map. I mean, we know that Thresh, Kalista are a great lane. We know that Syndra should have been able to have control there. But having infinite priority topside meant that Peanut could go wherever he wanted. They could guarantee that if anything was going to go right, it had to go right through the topside. Keep that Jace down.
I'm trying to think who gets MVP here. And
Roach or Ruler are going to be doing better.
Yeah, so it has to actually be between Roach and Ruler. Now, if
Ruler
we're looking at
kill, so generally.
Yeah, see, that's a problem though, because that shouldn't be how MVP is decided. It was who was actually really valuable. You could be 0 and 9 and still be the MVP. I remember one game in the LCK, I think in 2017, there was a jungler that was like 0-7-0, but he was the MVP that game because he was doing so much despite dying every single time for his team. And so what makes the MVP is who draws the most attention, who is doing the most and setting up the team
and
for
who
think it's
was
Roach.
the most responsible for winning the game.
Right.
And I think the early game, like we illustrated earlier on, getting through those first 20 minutes in an advantageous position was Roach and Peanut working together, right? It was Peanut around the rest of the map and Roach dominating his lane to a point where Tal was basically not even there. So that 5v4 situation was
the rotation
relevant.
to the Dragon. Roach was a huge part in turning around that mini skirmish at the River Brush. Where Ruler almost got caught out. And so, you know, if I'm looking at this game, I'm thinking, okay, Roach also helped pick off the J4 down in bottom. He applied a massive amount of side lane pressure. He got himself those early plates, helped set up a lot of the stuff, got the Herald, broke the turret, rotated. One might say that, oh, well, he almost got caught out of position and he potentially almost cost Fly his lane having to use that early teleport. But he did a lot, whereas Ruler, he coasted off of all the advantages. He did hit a lot of skill shots, dished out a lot of damage, but it was very easy from that standpoint, whereas Roach did it through his own volition.
Well, we'll see exactly who's going to be able to pick up the MVP as we move into game number 2. Hanwha have another chance after the break to even things out against Gen.G. We'll see whether they find the right ban buttons and whether they shore up the draft, because that